It's very hard to generalize because it really depends on where we at, so to speak. For you, yes, as we spoke before, to be aware when my heart closes, and through that awareness allowing it to open again, to soften again, to open the gates to that beingness, to my soul, as you would say, is a great practice, so to speak, that is available to you. You have done a lot of work, so to speak, that allows you to dare to be fearless enough to open your heart in circumstances where it's closing. So to you, that might be a very valuable practice. However, if our inner world is still very scary to us, the opening of the heart might be too scary in that moment and cannot be forced upon a closed heart. When the heart closes, it, so to speak, that metaphorically speaking, things it has to close to protect myself from the circumstances, from the situation, from other people. And without true understanding of knowing that it's safe in any circumstance, in any situation, to have my heart open, it may be appropriate even to some to have the heart closed. Even it's very painful, possibly, to have the heart closed. So for you, it's a wonderful practice, so to speak, to be aware of the tendency in certain situations, certain triggers in life or in my own mind, to close and harden my heart. And I don't know how it is in your experience. Usually the very awareness of the closing and hardening of the heart, allowing myself to see and feel that, may already allow the heart to soften and open a bit again. Yeah. So for the softening and opening of the heart, in my experience, is not so much something that we can do as a separate self, as a person, like, oh, now heart, open your gate and be available again to the totality of your experience, to your being. Somehow the heart, to the heart, it can feel violent to be forced to open. in this approach, yes, we need to have the awareness, so to speak. We spoke about that here also, and we'll do probably again. Without me being aware of being closed, of being tight in my heart, in myself, without me being aware of the feeling in me that makes me shrink into a personal self, makes my heart close, without that awareness, without me knowing that I have lost myself in a separate self with a closed heart, without that awareness, I don't even notice that I act, speak, feel, think, perceive on the basis of a separate self. So we support here observing myself, observing my thoughts, my feelings, my perceptions, my sensations, but without becoming an observer, without becoming someone that is doing something. Understanding that observing and welcoming, which is this open heart, welcoming all of my experience, also the ones that seems to be too scary to me, which make my heart close, to see and understand that welcoming, that an open heart is my true nature. When my heart is open, I don't have to do anything to be open. The illusion, the confusion of the ego is that opening is the effort. But in reality, closing my heart is the effort. It's a habit based on my conditioning, on my experience in life as a separate me, tortured by experience in life. Many of us got so acquainted to being a separate, closed self, a closed heart, that when I hold like my fist like that now for 10, 15 seconds, if I want to open it, it feels like a tremendous effort that I have to make to relax and open. But when my hand is open and soft, I notice, oh, this is my natural state, so to speak. But what we need, all of us, is the understanding, the experience that life is safe, that none of my experiences has the power to harm me, to hurt me, to destroy me. With understanding, open-heartedness and softness, not only of my heart, but of my whole body, comes naturally. And part of that understanding is to see that whatever I, as a separate self, am trying to do is actually tightening the fist again. The effort of a separate me the idea of a separate person that it has to do something, to be something else, is the illusion. My real self, our beingness, is always open. It doesn't even know how to close. If we are one with life, one with our fellow beings and nature, there is no door in consciousness to close. There is not even a window. It only seems so from the habitual perspective of a separate me in the mind that there is a door. And we have the power in the game of life to create the door so real, so to speak, the Maya, so real that it seems so that we actually have closed the door. So in my human experience, we will experience the tightness and the closeness of heart and so forth, the separation of our shared being. But from the side of reality, so to speak, from my being, from consciousness, the door is still blown wide open. And these meetings are a lot about to come to that right perspective, to come to that understanding that the door is always blown wide open, that welcoming and openness and softness is my true nature, and that it's safe to take the stand back as that open, welcoming, yes, vulnerable self, vulnerable in my human experience, but non-harmable in my self, or in my soul, you would say. That does not mean that in the past, the times where we had to close our hearts. This is very important in this context. Some of us had to experience tremendous pain and suffering in our lives, where the only appropriate reaction from the perspective of being a separate human being, a separate self, which we all in this game of life enter into, or at least the very most of us, we take this perspective at some point. We grow into this idea of being a separate being. And those experiences that we make as a child, as a teenager, and so forth, as a separate self, the only appropriate reaction in those moments where we experienced violence or mistreatment was a closing of heart. We needed to protect ourselves. Yes.